All right. Hey, good to have you here. This is Mike Holmes here at Reachkeep.com, and you've joined us on our YouTube channel, and we're just so thankful you're here. We are talking today about how Sunday school teachers can get their kids to pay attention better. Let me start that over again. Pay attention better. Okay. We need to make sure our kids are paying attention. In fact, the laws of learning tell us that if someone is not paying attention, they cannot learn. So we're going to dive into a bunch of tips and techniques and some basics on some of that. So anyway, thanks again. If it's your first time here, my name's Mike. I'm the pastor. Well, I'm the founding pastor. Stepped aside, got a new guy, took over our church. And so I get to spend a little bit more time with you online. So grateful for that. So anyway, happy 4th of July to you, wherever you may be here in the States. It's the third and kind of the big weekend, but we're glad that we're able to spend some time together here, focusing on an important thing, our Sunday school kids. And we want to make sure that we are the very best teachers we can be. We're focusing on some of the laws of learning. And the first one here we dealt with last week was just this whole idea of knowing your stuff, making sure that you know what you are teaching. It is impossible for you to teach if you don't know what you're teaching. Okay, so these are very simple principles here that we have. So that is the very first law, which requires us to study and to pay attention and to really get into it. Don't be late to your Sunday school class. Make sure you're studied up. Make sure that you've got the right information and you're delivering it to your kids in the proper way. Today, though, we're talking about the number 2 one is the idea of helping them to pay attention. And it's a law. In other words, you cannot learn. I wrote it down here. Learning cannot happen without attention. And the law specifically states this: it's a teacher's responsibility to gain and keep the attention and interest of the pupils upon the lesson. And again, it has to be upon the lesson. You can entertain them, okay, and that's a different thing. But we are here to teach a lesson. We're here to teach the truths of God, and we're very, very excited about that. And so we're going to dive right into some of the things that you have. At the end of this, I have a little kind of a tip for you, sort of a secret recipe at the end, I should say, that I want to give you. So hang out to the end here. Also, if you like what you hear on here at any time, just kind of, hit the old like button there or drop down and leave a comment. We appreciate it if you take time to leave comments and thumbs up. I see we already got a thumbs up. Thank you very much, whoever did that. So, all right, let's talk about this idea here of making sure that we are gaining and keeping the attention and interest of the pupils. All right. Our pupils are very, very precious, and they have very, very important thing to them. It's the salvation of their souls. It is the teaching of the Word of God. You're training them for stuff that they're going to use for years and years and years. And I'm not going to give you a ton of tips and techniques here. I will reference, though, at the end, in fact, I'll put it in the notes. I will put the link to a very good article I would like for you to read on how to do this. And I'll actually link a YouTube video at the end of someone outside of us, Bible teacher lesson. I forget what exactly it was called, .com or something. But I will get that to you and make sure that you have a link to that and some more resources that will give you a bunch of tips and techniques. The first rule, at least for me, is the idea that if they're paying attention, it's that they're engaged in some way. In other words, I have them doing something that engages them. Now, some of these are things that I do, and then they lock in on my eyes. They lock in on what I'm doing or what I'm saying, my technique. Okay, but they are engaged with me, and there is a connection between the teacher and whatever. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, man, I could daydream like crazy. I was like a professional daydreamer, and I could just I had no idea what the teacher was saying, and I was off in a whole nother land. I was doing that. Kids are like that today. They can do that. They may be bored. They may, like say, been just playing a super action-packed video game, and suddenly you have them in your in your class, and you've got to come up with some ways to keep them engaged. Now, I'm going to give you a couple different things that you can do that kind of helps with the engagement. And again, I want you to read the article that I post here at the end. One of the things is motion, just the idea of you moving back and forth, moving yours in your hands and some of that. And you need to have your motion plan. So when you read your story and you think about it, and we'll talk about participation in a moment, but the idea of like, you might want to walk over here, like, Bethlehem was way over here and Mary and Joseph were way up here in Nazareth. And you can kind of walk around on the stage. All that does is it gets their heads moving and they're following you across. And there's a level of engagement that comes from there. Another one, again, I'm just covering these quickly, is the idea of using questions where you ask the kids questions, what they think. And of course, you can have yes, no questions. You can have open questions. You can have agree or disagree questions, true or false questions, a lot of different ways to do questions. One way that I like to do it is have the questions, written up like on a piece of paper, and then you hold the piece of paper up and they answer the question. It's just a little bit more engaging because it's kind of like there's a card there and you've prepped and you've got that thing and they're ready to go. So questions is a good one. The next one is the idea of action, any kind of action that you can have. And again, this is very similar to motion, but this is the idea of like many times we'll take a ball and we'll, throw it out to the kids. And if you catch it, you can ask the question, answer the question. Mary and Joseph are on their way to what town? Throw it out, they catch it, Bethlehem. Okay, so just a little bit of action there that you can put in, which takes us to the next one, participation. And participation is a very simple one. And this is one where you actually get the kids involved at some level. And you say, I am looking for someone that is going to be Mary, and I'm looking for someone that's going to be Joseph. And then we're going to need a King Herod here too. So I'm going to be looking for whoever's sitting straight and quiet. And I'm going to be watching here. All right, ma'am, why don't you come up here? Sir, why don't you come up here? And I just put name tags on them. Sometimes you put a hat on that has their name, says Mary or Joseph, just real simple things like that. You don't have to dress them up. And you say, these two were on their way over here, but there was someone that didn't want all this to happen. And you can talk about King Herod and, you can get into all of the things, but you can have participation by having them stand up and do this. So when you are teaching your lessons, start to add in their motion, questions, action, participation. Another one, very simple, is just competition. And competition is it seems like boys are a little bit more competitive than girls in some ways. But that may not be the case at your church. Okay. There's some very competitive girls out there. But the idea is, okay, we're going to read the Christmas story. It's found in Luke chapter 2. Everybody get a Bible. When I say go, I want you to find Luke chapter 2, and you can do the